So he said, training to win through intense preparation conditions the brain and body to perform under pressure. It lets peak performance become automatic. It develops the mindset to win. And we talk about practice like you want to play. And you think about like having like waking up every day and having the mindset of like, I'm going to be the best version of myself today. And I'm going to push myself to be better. And I'm going to continue to train and work out and just anything in life. If you push yourself to operate at a high performance, you're going to create a winning mindset.
You can be a leader, but a leader is a developed set of skills. It's a developed set. State of mind, state of mind, state of mind, state of mind, state of mind.
State of mind. I'm here with my best friend, my role model, Armand. How we doing today?
We're doing lovely. The weather has finally broken in Japan. The cherry blossoms is coming out. Like I'm loving it right now. I'm loving it right now.
Cherry blossoms, man. I tell you, they are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I went to Portland one time and they had a cherry blossom, like it was just this path down by the river. And me and the wife got a crazy picture, man. I mean, I've seen the photos in Japan. Those are they're beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
cool.
We got one. We got a photo just kind of like that in Virginia Beach. No, not by the water, but it was kind of like I don't know, just a bunch of cherry blossom trees or whatever, and it was dope. And I was like, man, looking forward to getting another picture kind of in the same vein. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, you talking about pictures, man. Sunday is picture day, man. Joy wife got another photo shoot set up, so we about to.
Oh, for real?
Who knows what's gonna happen? Pictures somewhere, walls. I guess it's time. So
facts.
What else,
That's how it goes, though, man.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing better than like just taking a moment and like just going through like pictures, just seeing like going through your roll of pictures and just like remembering the time when you did this and just. Like random, 2017. I wonder what was happening in May. Oh, May 7th, 2017. Oh, I remember that. Oh, that was dope. That's like little built-in moments of joy that you can manufacture for yourself. So if you like feeling down, it's like do through on your phone. It's like September 29th, 2020. Maybe not 2020, but
2020.
Yeah, on that.
Hoodies and sweatpants.
Dang. And bread.
Yeah, man. All right. So what else you been up to, bro?
No, man, just get ready. I finally get an opportunity to be here for the entire month. This is the first month that I don't have travel.
That's great.
So it's pretty dope because both the girls, so Justice is running track, playing basketball, Faith is playing basketball, so I get a chance to see all their games. Matter of fact, Justice they got a tournament tomorrow, and they're killing it. So I get the chance to sit back and be the dad that I wanted to be and watch them play sports and have a good time. So it's lovely. What about you?
Yeah, man. So last week I had the opportunity to go to a pretty cool school. So I
went
from Hawaii to Newport. And I tell you, man, I'm pretty sure I'm going to talk about it later on the podcast. But being around people that want to be great, that whole like iron sharpens iron, and you want to fill your cup up, you want to come back feeling motivated, feeling inspired, feeling like you're ready to change the world. That's kind of how I was feeling last weekend, man. After you're around some great people, made some great new friends. And so, yeah, man. So it was a good week last week in Newport. I'm back in the right time zone again in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So it takes 4 days to get in the right headspace after flying. And then a day later, you're ready to fly back. So, but yeah, man. So it's been a good week. It was a good week of school last week. And I'm excited to do the podcast, man. I'm excited to get into it.
Definitely. Well, I mean, we might as well. Well, you know what time it is, right? So it was all good just a week ago, right?
It was all good just a week ago. So
go ahead and kick us off.
I'm going to kick it off, man, because I'm telling you, I've been dealing with this this individual who is allowing ego to force him to make some bad decisions.
Mhm.
And so I think as a leader, you got to be able to remove ego and look at the big picture and do what's best for your team and best for your organization, and don't lead with the mindset of it's all about me. And
Yeah.
he has a very just egocentric personality where you can just, it's very me. Like, what is it? What is, how do people view me? What is my optic? And so I've really been trying to talk to him and get him to look at things differently, man. But like, what I'll tell you is, you can be the smartest dude in the room. You can be talented. You can know how to talk and communicate. But if you allow ego to get in the way of doing what's best for your team and making rational decisions, man, you can go from like really good and to not so great real quick.
Yeah.
You
No
know what I'm
doubt.
saying?
No doubt.
Yeah. So kind of my lesson for the week, man. Like, you got to be able to remove ego. I know we've name dropped ego as the enemy more than once. So definitely something that I hope this guy figures it out, because it's rough to watch sometimes. What
No
about
doubt.
you?
Yeah, man. I would say it's kind of in the same vein, but more so for me. And it was more of a reminder for me, where it's like, don't be convinced by the should of my own story to understand reality. And so what I mean by that is, I got a chief that's kind of struggling. Not bad, just some aspects of performance that just quite not really grasping.
Yeah.
And sometimes we think that people just show up with all the knowledge of being a leader that they're ever going to have. They think we sometimes.
You're not making assumptions, are you?
Right? You get into the normalcy of the day. You get into kind of your groove of the day, and you get presented with something, and you got to sit down and counsel somebody and talk to them about performance, and you haven't really sat down and considered the situation,
Yeah.
right? And really step back from it, right? So you're just kind of in it, and then you're faced with this interaction, right? So it's like, how could you do this? You should know. And as soon as I said, I said, man, hey, so let's back up.
Yeah.
Let's back up. Let's talk about how we got here. Hey, did you even know XYZ? Is this something that was a normalcy to you? Is this something that had previously been revealed to you? No, not really. I just didn't really okay.
Yeah.
I was about to go into a place of judgment and ultimately discipline based on the should of my own story, because I projected what I thought this person should know onto him and didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. Right. So I had to catch myself mid stride and jump right, because I was about to jump right into those assumptions. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm about to do the thing that I hate. All right, let me not do that. Yeah, man. So getting back into my own assumptions, allowing my own biases or whatever project this should on this chief, but luckily I was able to catch myself. So don't be convinced by the should of my own story to understand reality.
So this week's It Was All Good Just a Week Ago was about you, huh? I like that. Okay. Yeah, man. We talk about it a lot, but it's amazing when you really think about trying to remove assumptions from your day-to-day leadership path, how much more effective the conversations can be with the people around you.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. Still learning, man. Still growing.
That's what we doing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, man. So what we reading? What's the blueprint? What's the current book?
So I had to rewind a little bit. So there's a couple of books that every year I go back and read. So How to Win Friends and Influence People, Traveler's Gift, and I'm back at The Alchemist. I don't know if I've ever talked about The Alchemist here on the podcast, but Alchemist is one of those books that I read pretty much every year because it's just that good. It's just that good. It's also one of those books where given a summary, given a synopsis about the book kind of ruins it, right? So you just got to be careful about how you navigate talking about it. But
Fair.
It's what it's about. It's about a personal journey, and all the things that you encounter as you're trying to find the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm communicating about The Alchemist because I never want, that's one of those books I never want to ruin for people.
I got it. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is increase the level of intrigue around my description of it,
There you go.
so that people are more drawn to it by not telling you anything about the book.
All right, well, that's fair. Hey, so go check out The Alchemist. All right, it's funny that you say that. So I don't have a bunch of books that I read every year because I although I do think I'm a pretty avid reader. I know you read a few more books a year than me, but Four Agreements is one of my books, and we talk about it all the time. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
always a great alignment tool. It's always good to have those books to go to. And to be honest, I might be talking about Legacy next year. We talked about it on the last podcast. I finished the book, and man, I tell you, if you ain't read that book yet, man, that book has so many gems in there. So
I'm gonna pick it up.
Yeah, you got to. So I finished that book up last week. Also, where we talking about iron sharpening iron. We had so many go getters and motivators in the class, man. We were so many books being dropped. We started a class rule. If you dropped a book, you had to write it on the board. So I literally got a list of all these books, took a picture of them, and so it was cool to hear just some great leaders and all their different perspectives. So it was pretty good. But
yeah, because that's confirming the adage, right? Leaders are readers.
Yep, there you go. Yep. So I think I have a couple authors that are very similar to Jay-Z. I feel like they don't miss. Adam Grant is another one. He just dropped Give and Take. Have you seen that yet?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I haven't read it yet. This isn't a cute.
All right, so Give and Take, here it is. There are 3 different types of people in the world. There are givers, there are takers, and there are matchers. And he explains that although people think that the alpha personality, the leader, needs to be loud and boisterous and have a certain mentality that's all about him and have this taking mentality where it's about like getting to the spot, the throne, the next job, that the givers, the ones that give of their time, that give of their skill set, that give of their passion and energy to others, how much more effective and how much more beneficial they end up being in the long run. So It is, man, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I probably got about, I think I got about 6-7 chapters left. So I'll be done by the time we wrap up. But Adam Grant, my only knock on Adam Grant for this one is, man, he had someone else do the audible for him. And I'm used to hearing when Adam Grant does an audio book.
Yeah.
You normally hear his voice, right? So I'm like, I don't know. It feels weird that he had someone else do it, but I'm sure there's a reason. But yeah, man, definitely go check that out. Give and Take by Adam Grant.
No doubt.
So this is the part of the segment, the part of the podcast where you always outshine, always drop the better bars. Man, what bars are we dropping this week? What's our quote of the week for the podcast?
So because I knew that I wasn't going to give a lot around the book and its description for The Alchemist, I felt like I was obligated to at least drop a bar from The Alchemist, right?
Fair.
And it's one of those things where it's like I try to be as sophisticated as possible, but this one is I think pretty simple. Part of the book, so it just says, what's the world's greatest lie? It's this: that a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. That's the world's greatest lie. That at a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. That's the world's greatest lie.
Okay.
I love that because I think there's so much truth in that bar, because that means that you've lost control over yourself.
Yeah.
Right? That because the world continues to move, and things are happening outside of you, and because so much is happening, you lose sight of you have control of the most important thing. You.
Yep.
As long as I got control of me, I can control whatever outcome I want. I'm still the master of my fate. If there's a thing that I want, I'm not going to stop until I get that thing. Failure doesn't exist because I'm just not going to stop.
Yep.
Right? So I love that quote. I love that portion of the book when he's telling that story. And I'm just drawing more intrigue because I want people to read the book.
There you go. Wow. All right. Yeah, I like that a lot, man. I mean, I think we've talked about it. We've talked around that quote in different conversations, right? As far as like not being a victim, not allowing like you control your actions when things don't go the way you want it to. Very similar thought process. But one of those things where, man, if you understand that like you are in control of your own destiny, man, like it's kind of powerful. Like anything is possible. So I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What you got, bro?
Yeah, man. So I just had to say this to you because I like reread certain areas of. So I got 2 quotes this week. I got one from Ryan Grant because I always like to do the book I'm doing, but I had to drop one more from Legacy because they just seem to always talk about something that was relevant to me or kind of motivating. So he said, training to win through intense preparation conditions the brain and body to perform under pressure. It lets peak performance become automatic. It develops the mindset to win. And we talk about practice like you want to play. And you think about like having like waking up every day and having the mindset of like, I'm going to be the best version of myself today. And I'm going to push myself to be better. And I'm going to continue to train and work out and just anything in life. If you push yourself to operate at a high performance, you're gonna create a winning mindset, and I love that. Right. I heard this quote the other day, man. I don't think I was telling you about it, man. It's 1% of the population sprints after 40 years old.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So I saw that. So trust me, I was sprinting this week in the gym. I'm like, nah, you're not catching me. We have talked about this on the podcast. Everyone works out for different reasons. I'm trying to outlast my kids. But my point is that whatever your field is, training and practicing with intensity and like trying to be the best version of yourself is going to create a winning culture. And I just love it. So again, gold in that book, man. Lots of gems.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. I love that. I'm part of that 1% because I'm playing basketball, sprinting, playing softball, sprinting, running, sprinting. So yeah.
Hey, so it's important. That's how you stay young. The rest of the conversation was just about if you want to start feeling old, stop doing things like that, right? Like was like 3 things. It was like being able to lift your own body weight, sprinting, and just like more cardio. So, all right. So the one from the Ryan Grant book that I wrote down was, by making yourself vulnerable, a giver can build prestige and credibility through making connections with those they lead. Making yourself vulnerable, a giver can build prestige and credibility through making connections with those they lead. And we have talked about vulnerability, but the aspect of being a giver and be willing to give up, like, who cares whose idea it is as long as we're winning?
That's it.
Right? And so givers have that mentality, right? Like, I remember so vividly, I had an XO who was fleeting up to be a CO. And so it's my job in my skill set to prepare him to go be a CO. I have served with COs before. I know how COs should be. So let me give him the tools and conversations that he deserves to make sure he's ready for that role. And I think it's very weird when you stay in the same command and go from being the executive officer to the commanding officer, right? Like
it is.
It's different. It's different. It's not like that throughout the Navy. I mean, I think in certain companies outside of, you might be able to move up to a certain point, but you're not always going to go from like that senior level management to executive management because there's just usually go somewhere else. And so I remember the officers and some of the people that he was leading when he shifted roles was like, the CO's changed. the CEO's different now. And they're coming to my office like mad about it. He's not saying the same things he was saying before. And I'm like, you guys done? Like, you want to have a conversation? And they were like, yeah, what's up? I said, because he shouldn't be the same person. Like, he needs to be different. And I just love that I was able to communicate with him some ideas and some strategies about how he could be more effective as a CEO and what needed to change with who he was. And people were like, well, it sounds like he's talking about people programs and that's your stuff. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's his. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who? And at the end of the day, even if it was my original idea, if he's taking that vision and owning it, who cares? So I love that quote. I love the like I said, Ryan Grant doesn't miss. I think if he puts out a book, I'm gonna read it. And so that's cool, man.
Yeah, there hasn't been one where I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
I mean, on any level, he drops some fire, man. So I love his stuff. Yeah, and I think the key thing about his stuff is that I think it's translatable because he's an academic that's talking about leadership stuff. So he's teaching behavioral psychology. He's talking in the leadership space about these things. And sometimes those things become, because they're so esoteric, so kind of theoretical, you can't really bring them down to where they're actionable. And I think a lot of the things I read from him, the majority of things are actionable and something that can be implementable. So I think that's a definite plus too.
Yeah, I think that's one of his favorite skill sets. Last podcast, you were talking about how, like, you don't got to drop a bunch of words to show people that you're smart. He is not dumb by any means. He's a very smart man with a lot of degrees and a lot of education.
Yeah, when you're a professor at Harvard.
Yeah. But what he's able to do is kind of have these big thoughts and these big ideas and then put them in places where it's understandable. And man, he's got a good delivery. So shout out Adam Grant, man. I appreciate you.
No doubt.
All right, man. So
finally.
Yeah, we're here. So 99 problems, but leadership ain't one, man. What's your one tip of the week? What are we dropping today?
Yeah, so this week is unique because this week and next week I'm doing all the CPO midterm evaluations and they're bringing in their assessments. We've talked about at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the evaluation year, talked about make sure you write down your goals. And they didn't write down their goals. So I found myself continuing to reiterate this point. Write down your intentions. Write down your goals. If you have a goal for yourself and it is not written down, Denzel Washington said it's just a dream.
Yep.
It's not something that you can track, not something that you can look at the metrics, not something that you can adjust over time to see where you are in regards to, are you on the right trajectory towards that goal? You got to write down your intentions. You got to write down your goals. Simple, to the point. You have goals for yourself, whether it's 3 months, whether it's 6 months, whether it's 1 week, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, write them down. Make them real. Take them from just existing in the ether and make it real by putting it on paper, putting it in your notes app. Take it, if you want to use a recorder on your phone, do something, but put it down, make it real.
How often do you go through your goals?
So I go through my goals every week. Just because there's a process that I do on Sundays. I have a blueprint for the week process where I take an hour and I'm going through, all right, what do I want to happen for the week? Where am I at with the things that I've kind of planned for myself in terms of the Navy and in terms of my business and in terms of personal. So I'm looking at where I'm at. Do I need to readjust? Because for me, the type of person that I am, I'm super audacious in my goal setting. So some of that stuff ain't realistic for what I want when I want it, right? Yeah. So I have to readjust and make sure that because I'll set a business goal that will interact with a personal goal, like with family, that you can't do both in that magnitude. So you just kind of extend it or adjust it a little bit. So I'm always constantly adjusting, always constantly look at it and make sure it makes real sense and making sure that it lines up with what my wife is going to allow me to do too. So
That is very key because there's only 24 hours in a day, man. We take all that time for all those goals. Some people get upset at us. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah, no, man. I mean, obviously, I'm never gonna do anything other than agree with you on setting goals. I think whatever it is that you want to achieve, you have to talk about it, self-talk, write it down, visualize it, and really do it. And I think one of the things that people need to remember is that all your goals don't have to be audacious. You know what I mean? They don't have to be
exactly
large. Like Armand is he speak things into existence and he sets goals and he doesn't stop till he gets it done. But if you're starting off and you're like, I want to get in better shape, man, your goals could be to hit the gym 3 times that week. And so just remember the fact that goals are all relative based on who you are and what you're going through and what it is you're trying to accomplish. But set achievable goals, write them down, visualize them, and then do them.
Yep.
Hold yourself accountable to them. So, okay. All right, man. So my tip of the week brings it back to Newport, man. You got to surround yourself with people that are smart, talented, capable, that help you get better, force you to get better, make you think about things from different angles. Iron sharpens iron. And if you are the smartest person in the room, find a new room. I can't say it any other way.
That's your third bar. That's your I'm tracking. That's your third bar for the day.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean it's true, man. Like you can't, man, I don't want to be the guy that's just standing there, oh, look at how much more experience I have than everyone else. No, man, I want to be around someone that's going to challenge me to be like, hey, what if you did it this way? Or hey, if you ever thought about that? And so I was blessed last week. Shout out to the class, man. I'm gonna make sure I tag you in the podcast, man. Thank you for helping me get better. Thank you for recharging me and giving me some things to think about and some ways to grow. But find a circle, man. Find those conversations, find those groups and those people that are going to push you to get better. Because Armand said it in his book. He's spoken to it many times. If you're stagnant, you're dying. And if you're not growing, then where are we at? So if you're going to grow, you got to be around people that are going to push you to grow. And you got to find people that are willing to do that and are willing to have those tough conversations and hold you accountable, man. So that is my leadership tip of the week.
That's awesome. I love it, man. I love it. Mastermind theory, baby. You got to be around people that's gonna push you, that's gonna help you to become better. I mean, that was a bar, bro. Find a different room. If you're the smartest person in the room, find a different room. I love that. I love that. And I think everything that we're talking about leads perfectly into what we're going to be talking about ultimately for today. I think it's almost like just alley-oops. Everything that we're talking about just leads segues perfectly into what we're going to be talking about today. And amazingly enough, it's inspired by one of my favorite shows. Tony hasn't had the opportunity to check this show out. I think that over the next couple of weeks, I think he'll be able to get into it. But one of my favorite shows is Ted Lasso. And if you haven't seen Ted Lasso, please take an opportunity. If you are a leader, you are an aspiring leader. If you want to know what leadership should look like, go check out Ted Lasso. Plus, it just so happens to be pretty darn entertaining as well. But there's a portion in Ted Lasso where, and just a little bit of background about Ted Lasso, this is a coach who has coached traditional American football, has had a significant level of success, got fired from his team, and gets hired in England to come and coach a soccer, as we call it, but football team over in England. And he was only hired by the owner just to make just destroy the soccer team because her husband, who cheated on her, that was the only thing he loved. So she brought him in as kind of a joke, as a means of just poking him in the eye, right? And it turned out to be one of the greatest things that ever happened to her, the team, and to that area, because while this guy had no previous experience about soccer and what to do, he was a leader. He, first and foremost, was a leader. And there's a portion in probably that first season where he is playing darts in a bar, and he's playing darts against the male owner, the husband, and they have a wager based on this dart game. And I don't want to ruin it for you with regards to the wager, but you can catch that clip on YouTube, and we may even put it up. We may even put it in the podcast, just slip it in there so you can see it, because ain't nothing like seeing it. But the owner assumed that this guy was some country bumpkin, that he was not cultured, that just made this assumption about who he was, and he was gonna take his team back. And Ted Lasso says, "Hey, look, man, if you were curious, you would have asked, hey, how'd you grow up? Well, every Sunday, I played darts with my dad from the age of, I think he said 6 or something like that. And he commenced to whooping this dude's butt on this dartboard. Darts is not an easy thing. I played darts last week, and it is not easy. But he commenced to bullseye after bullseye after bullseye. And the quote in there is, be curious. You had the opportunity to be curious, but you chose to judge. And I think about that a lot in terms of leadership and my approach and how I've looked at things in the past and gotten it wrong. A lot of my mistakes, a lot of how I've gotten it wrong in leadership has come as a result of judging rather than being curious, assuming I know who somebody is because of some sliver of evidence that they've shown me. And I've taken that little bit of evidence, and that's who they are. Yeah. That one sliver of thing, that's one small thing, and painted them through that lens. That's how I saw them, only through that bit of evidence. I just remember on certain occasions where new sailors would come to the submarine, and they would, present themselves, and they'll walk around and get checked in, and we would just be like, nah, they ain't gonna make it. Nah, they ain't gonna make it. I don't know about them. And understanding later on, understanding how just psychology works later on in life, there was no way they're going to be able to overcome that judgment, because I already see them as incapable. So that's how I'm going to relate to them. So that judgment is so detrimental in our ability to lead, that if we are not intentionally curious about all the people that we lead, we're going to miss all of the greatness and uniqueness and talents and gifts that they have, because we put our own judgment on them and saw them through a lens that limited them in our own eyes. And that ain't fair, Jack. That ain't fair.
So the conversation today, judgment versus curiosity.
Yeah.
I like that. And your example's really good, man, because as we've talked about, when you put people in boxes, if they don't have the mental capacity to overcome that, and they're young and they feel like they're looking like the people that are putting them in these boxes and telling them they can't do things, or they're not going to be able to make it, or they're not going to be successful, they can start to believe their own words that are being told to them, right?
Yep.
And if the opposite was being said, and the conversations were, man, you're a perfect fit for this, right? Like if you took no judgment and you took two people and said, you're not built for this and you're going to fail. And then to the other person, you were like, you're the perfect fit for this. You're going to do great. I mean, the science is there. You're going to end up the person who's being told that they can do it and that they're capable end up being successful. And when we judge, we sometimes put people in boxes, lower what they're actually capable of, because we have an opinion of them.
We condemn them.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, that's deep, man. So we got to figure out how we don't judge and how we become more curious. So
yeah, man. I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we have to challenge that first thought, right? We have to challenge that first entering thought that comes to our mind, right? So you said something last podcast about trusting your gut, and I think that's spot on. But I think there's a danger to that as well, because if we're not challenging ourselves and challenging our perspectives, our gut could be led by our emotions, and our emotions could be telling us a story that we think is coming from our experience, and that could lead us down the wrong direction. You know what I mean by that?
100%. I think it was actually, as you were saying that, I was like, man, he gonna pull up the tape on the last podcast and throw some shade at me. But I like that. Nah, man. No, but what I would tell you is that when you said that, I think that your gut might still be right, but as a leader, you owe it to them for your delivery to be different. So so I guess my thing is, like, if you think that person isn't capable, are you going to get a better version by saying you're not? Or are you going to get a better version by being like, hey, man, I'm glad you're here. I think that this could really work out for you, and I'm here to help you get there. So
exactly,
trust your gut, but remember that the words that follow and the ability to not judge them and to give them a clean slate and give them the tools and the motivation to be great could completely change the outcome of who they are.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's a great point. That's a great point, right? And because for me, I'm just like, hey, just challenge that, right? If there's this negative connotation that comes up about somebody or a limiting connotation, challenge that, right? Because it's like, all right, do I just go with that entering emotion, that entering thought, or do I recognize, like you're saying, recognize it? Oh, okay, no. Let me not let my words take them down. Let me not let my words detract from the path that they could be on, right? Because if I speak it that, oh, they ain't gonna be good enough, I'm not gonna betray my own words. Right? I'm not gonna do anything different from that. But if I say, oh, I recognize how I'm thinking, all right, no, come over. No, we about to do this. I think you can absolutely do this. Right.
Yeah.
And get into the right process of preparing them to succeed. So absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, so we're talking about that from a standpoint of like a new employee coming into an organization. But the same thing could be said to who's experienced and been there for a while, or should know what right looks like and has been in the organization for a while, and then gives you the wrong vibe or does the wrong thing. And I think about this story again. Hey, we ain't perfect, and I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but I had a sailor show up to one of my commands, and I mean, he looked disheveled. I mean, his wasn't clean shaven, haircut didn't look good, uniform didn't look good, and kind of introduced himself to me. And I was judging. I need you to know, from me to you, like, it's your first day in the office. It's your first day at work. Like, how do you want to be perceived by the people, right? I feel like you should want to make a good first impression. So he started to introduce himself to me, and I was curious. I said, "Hey, man, are you doing okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am. Why? What's up?" I was like, "No, did you just get in late? Did you have some flights or some issues getting here or anything like that?" He's like, "No, nope." I said, "Okay." I said, "Hey, man, listen, I want to give you a fresh start. This is what I need you to do. This is what I need you to do. I'm going to pretend that this conversation never happened. And I want you to go get a shave. Go get your uniform looking right. Go get yourself a fresh haircut. And the next time I see you, I'm going to pretend I never met you before. And we're going to start this relationship off the right way." And so it was against my better judgment because I honestly just wanted to yell. I was pretty upset at that, like, someone at this level of his career was kind of looking like that. But first I had to ask some questions, right? Like, I had to be curious and be like, "Hey, man, are you good?" Because what if his response was like, "My car broke down. I got in at 4 a.m. I couldn't get into the hotel room. I came straight to work." You know what I mean? Like, there's a million different things.
There's always context.
There is always context. So in that moment, again, should I send him away, or that's for you to decide. But I definitely was curious first, and then I gave him the opportunity to have a reset. So that way my first interaction with him was a positive one and not a negative one. But so
I look at it too like this. When I'm leading a team, I think it's easy once you spend time with somebody.
Yeah.
And you've been with this group for insert this amount of time, a year, 2 years, whatever the case may be. I think it's easy to gravitate towards the people that see the world like you, right? That may love fishing, that may love Magic the Gathering, that may love basketball, right? Because if we have the same interests, we can connect and we have these conversations and we build. right? And there's this natural gravitation towards the people that think like us. And what it has the potential to do is create within us is called affinity bias, right?
Yeah.
Affinity bias is I assume that this person is better suited for maybe a position that's coming open, maybe for a billet, maybe for an advancement, maybe for an award, right? Solely because we have these similarities, solely because we may talk the same. We're from the same place. We both play basketball. We both are nerds or whatever the case may be. So I'm drawn to this person because of that unique connection. And the performance aspect where people are actually should be judged upon, you can miss that and say, oh, well, I'm favoring this person because I think that it's like, well, no, the quantifiable data doesn't show that. It shows that this person over here is actually better suited for this position. Why would you choose this person? Well, they're a better fit. And I say this because I've seen this happen numerous times. Well, they're just better suited for that. But just trust me, this you don't want that person because why don't we want that person? Because they're different.
Yeah,
they're over there. All the numbers show that they're over here killing it.
Yeah,
they're making it happen over here. But you want to put, and what that is affinity bias, right? We allow ourselves to be captivated by this connection, and it blinds us to the actual truth of reality. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. So just because you're that introvert who doesn't want to go out for drinks after work, who would rather go home and read a book and is kind of keeps to himself, but I've used this quote before: men lie, women lie, numbers don't. But the numbers show that he's a winner and he's doing all the right things. Yeah, man. I mean, it can definitely put you in a better situation as a leader if you can take a step back and not judge first and like get to know people. And I've had this conversation before because as a leader, you're drawn to the people that are like you are.
Yeah.
And I think you owe it to your team to be curious and communicate with people to get other like people that are not like you understand what makes them tick and how they work and how they operate. You know, I have been in conversations where I had no idea what was happening around me, but like they were excited to talk about it, man. Like they was some Magic the Gathering was a big one. And I ended up they were like, hey, you think they had a place that sold cards, but then they had I think they're like you sell the cards for Magic the Gathering, right? So they had a store in the front, but then you could rent the space out in the back to like
in the back
play.
and go play.
Yeah. So they're like, hey man, hey CMC, you think you could stop by and kind of just check it out? Or can we do like an MWR event? And I'm like, absolutely, man, sure. Like, right? Because I know that, hey CMC, you wanna play on a softball team? Yes, I do. Why? Because I like playing sports. Hey, you want to play on a basketball team? Yes. Hey, you gonna be a PT? Yep. So I'm giving it to all these certain types of people, being around them, listening to how they operate. But now someone else has an interest, and just because it's not aligned with mine, doesn't mean I can't be curious about it. Doesn't mean I can't understand how they work and how they move and how they operate. And so I think was great for my growth because I met some people that are shy and very quiet in other groups, but then become loud, boisterous, funny, and because they're like the I don't want to say the alpha of their group, but I don't know like a better word, but they're the more extra, they're the less of the introverts in that group, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they became totally different people because they were in an environment that they knew people and were comfortable that they could be themselves. So what if as leaders, we created an environment and a culture where people felt like they could be their authentic, genuine selves and not be judged on the things that they liked? Now you're talking about winning, right? Now you're talking about building an inclusive team that feels like we can be individuals. We all bring something to the fight, and that's going to lead to success. And I think when you came up with this, we didn't even really talk about it that much. But that's kind of like the end state of this type of mindset.
That's it. right? Because you're winning when you facilitate an environment where everybody can be the best version of themselves. They feel included. They feel like if they say something, it's going to be valued, like they're being respected, like they're being honored. They're like, it's going to take care of itself. It's going to, the environment is going, it's going to take care of itself, and it's going to grow. It's going to flourish. There will be a positive trajectory in that space, because one of the things I think curiosity, well, the first thing I think curiosity kind of sparks, I think it's trust.
Yeah.
Right? I think the curious leader inspires trust, because everybody has the things that they say. I want everybody to win. I want this organization to move forward. I want everybody to be valued. I want everybody to be honored. There's a difference between saying these things, because all leaders, I think, for the most part, know the right things to say.
Sure.
Then you got what you're doing,
Yeah.
what you're actually doing every single day. And when you're willing to pull up a chair, sit back, and just learn. You don't have to say anything. You're just sitting back, observing, just understanding. Hey, CMC, what's going on? I'm just listening. I don't know how this game is played. I don't know how you do business. I'm just learning. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to observe and to be curious. And questions come up from there, like legitimate, curious questions, and that shows interest. It's like, hold up, man, like, this person is interested in what I'm doing. Oh, okay. I think that's dope. I remember what I felt like when I was the worker and I was doing something that I thought was important, and somebody came and thought it was also important. It's like, oh, that's pretty awesome. So I am making a difference. I am, doing something that matters. Right. So there's that trust, that connection that's built in that curiosity, I think, is going to be trust.
Yeah, when I think, if I was to draw some parallels between curious, I would say that curious equals connectedness.
Yeah, facts. Fact.
So, right. So if you're a leader,
Yep.
and your goal is to build a team and build people, one of the new cool phrases is connectedness. So what is that really? That is getting to know your people and understand them. To your point, taking care of people is actions, not words. Like, I will continue to drop that forever. So it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what you do. And by being curious, I think, is more of an action than a word. Like, if you're going to be curious, it has to be purposeful. It has to be intentional. You have to make it a point to be curious and to get to know the people around you. So whether that's through your onboarding process, whether that's through monthly mentorship sessions, through coaching, through leadership conversations and dialogue, or just going to the lunchroom and sitting down and talking, right? Like, being around these people and being curious about what's going on in their life, and then genuinely caring is important. You start to build connectedness, and then connectedness leads to family, and then family leads to building a stronger culture. Stronger culture leads to a better camaraderie and people willing to support one another, which makes a better team. Team leads to winning, and then if you take it all the way back, it's like, well, why do you feel like you did better here than you did at your other place? Oh, well, I feel like I'm a part of the team. People got to know me. I was able to be my authentic self. I mean, and it's magic, bro. It's the secret sauce, man. It's like your ability. It's like a superpower to just have a desire to want to get to know your people and to be curious about them. And one more thing, I think the other benefit of being curious as leaders, one of the most important things you can do is know how to put the right people in the right place.
Yeah.
But you can only do that. But you do that if you, and so I tell people all the time, I used to be, in a previous life, I was a mechanic. Not anymore. Clean hands, feels great. But in a previous life, I had to do that job. And when I became a supervisor, I would tell my mechanics all the time, hey, man, I was never the best mechanic. I was good. I could get the job done, but there are plenty of people more talented than me. But I think what made me successful is that I would learn about each one of the sailors that I served, and figured out where they deserved to be and what the best spot for them was. And the story that I think about was I had a 30-year-old English teacher who was a mechanic. And he had no business name, but he could not turn a wrench. He made me feel like a good mechanic.
Yeah.
But you start talking to him, you get curious, you ask questions. And you know what mechanics can't do? They not too good at writing evaluations for themselves, not too good at writing awards for themselves. And then now he has a purpose, right? So I just curiosity, I think, also leads to getting to know your people and then knowing how to put the right people in the right place to maximize the efficiency of the team.
Absolutely. You can't believe everything that you think. Can't believe everything that you think. You gotta be willing to question yourself. You gotta be I call it being a benevolent alien.
There you
right?
go.
So you think about a alien that does not want to take over, but just comes down to the Earth and never experienced anything about Earth ever, and they're just like looking at everything like with absolute amazement, just wanting to learn, just wanting to grow. Like, what is this structure that these humans live in? What is this about? What is this? It's called a flower. Oh, that's wow. What is this benevolent alien just looking to learn and to grow? And I think that same approach, maybe to a lesser degree, but the intention of it is still there. And I think about when I think about curiosity, I think about the greatest book about leadership that has curiosity at the top of it, and that's Lincoln on Leadership. That's leadership by walking around. Just I don't have a book. I don't have any intention. I'm just going to walk around and figure out what's happening. Right. I'm going to learn. Hey, what are the challenges that are happening with the Union Army? Well, I won't know based on what these people who are around me that haven't even gone down there and see. I'm going to go for myself. I'm going to see what they're struggling with. I'm going to see what their issues are. I'm just going to go down there and be curious, not judgmental, not taking the perspective that people around me have given me that's not accurate. I'm just going to go down there and see and figure it out, because that's what leaders do. They're curious and they go and see we call it on the deck plate, but that's what it's really about.
Shout out Lincoln on Leadership, first leadership book that was.
Shout out Lincoln on Leadership, absolutely. Another book.
That was the first leadership book that was ever handed to me. I remember reading that book and I was like, "This is what we did. We waited this long to get me reading some leadership books." But yeah, man, it's a great point. It's a great point. You can't know your people. It's real hard to have a curious demeanor and to build connectedness from your office. So you might need to push the desk, the chair back a little bit. Make sure the door's open. Walk around. Be curious. How's work going? Man, what can we do to make your job easier? Ask some questions. And
smile while you're doing it too. Like, don't be imposing. Just smile.
Yeah.
Like you actually want to know. Like you actually want to engage. Like you actually want to know what's going on.
Yep. It's amazing what can happen, man. So yeah, dude, I love it. So what are some other benefits you think of being curious, man? What are some other things that we're not thinking about that sent you down this path?
Yeah, I think one thing we haven't talked about, I think innovation.
Okay.
Right. So becoming a organization that's more efficient, because when you have everybody that feels empowered and safe to offer their perspectives on things, you find new solutions. Ooh. You find more efficiencies where, hey, we've been doing this thing this way this whole time. Somebody during Magic the Gathering says, hey, I know we do things this way, but I was just thinking, like, couldn't we just XYZ? And you're just like, yep. We sure could. Yeah. We sure could.
Yep.
That makes all the sense in the world. As a matter of fact, we could. So innovation it becomes astronomical. So I think that's one of the biggest ones, that outside of the trust and connectedness, just innovation and problem solving goes up significantly with a curious mindset.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of why I never kind of drew these parallels, but curious is also very in line with psychological safety. When we've talked about psychological safety, when you think about the leaders that portray that, they're curious by nature. Like, I feel like they want people to ask questions. They ask questions. Like, hey, is there a better way we could be doing this? It's like, you know what I mean? Like they're curious in their, because what they want to do is be more efficient. They want to be better. They want to
Yeah.
find ways to improve processes. And so having that psychologically safe environment where people feel comfortable enough, like you said, to bring up ideas. So, hey, wouldn't it be easier if we just did this? And as long as you're not the guy that's, well, we do it this way because it's always been done this way. Like,
Yeah.
you know, don't come in here with your new ideas. That's a judgment statement in itself, right? And so instead,
fact.
Be curious. And I think it creates a completely new environment, man. So I love that. I love that innovation. I wouldn't have drawn that parallel, but I mean it's brilliant. It definitely it allows everyone to have a seat at the table to bring something, or bring up ideas that are going to help us get better. Love that.
Absolutely. I think we've dispelled the myth that curiosity kills a cat. You hear that a lot. I think we've dispelled that, but I think that ultimately as leaders, that's something that we have to make a part of our daily rotation. We have to make sure that we check our own selves and our own judgment and just ask ourselves, am I being judgmental here? Am I being judgmental? Am I allowing my first inclination to decide this full scenario? Because I think that's how we avoid that judgment. Just a simple act of asking ourselves that question. Because that's what I did. Like when I was in the middle of about to draw that assumption about the sheep that I was talking to. Am I doing what I hate right now?
Yeah.
Right. So that inward question that just, and I asked it in my head, am I doing, like, oh man, I gotta snap out of that. Right. So just asking yourself that question to snap out of it, I think that's the easiest, quickest way to get yourself out of judgment. So.
Yeah, I mean, because that was definitely going to be my next question. Like my leadership state of mind, we don't just like to talk about problems; we like to talk about solutions. So the ways to get out of that judgment mindset is something that I don't think it's going to come natural. I think you have to think about it, and so obviously, kind of telling yourself like, "Hey, am I judging in this situation?" Kind of have those outer body experiences that we talk about, where we can kind of like slow everything down and step outside of where we're at and be like, "All right, why do I feel this way? What's going on? And how can we kind of, make sure that we're not judging the situation? We come in honest and open and curious to figure that out."
Absolutely.
I also think, let's say you're one of those leaders that is quick to judge. I feel like people that are quick to judge are also quick to yell, or quick to have a lot of emotion behind certain feelings, right? Like they make assumptions or they judge and then they jump to conclusions. And so if you're thinking to yourself like, man, if I could be calmer at work, if I yelled a little bit less, I think I could be more effective. I could build a better environment. Well, I think that the first thing you could do, instead of talking about how can I judge less, think about how I could be more curious. And so
curious.
Instead of jumping, like it's like the opposite, like they balance each other out. And so if you are more curious, then you're going to be less judgmental. And so in those moments where you're frustrated, instead of jumping to judgment and yelling, raising your voice, screaming, instead be curious and try to understand why someone made that decision, why someone did what they were going to do. And you
absolutely.
And maybe they made a mistake, and maybe they did something wrong, and maybe you got to hold them accountable. But at least understand where they came from. And I think that's another tool you can use to kind of level the playing field and in an attempt to be more curious than judgmental. That makes sense,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, man.
All right.
Cool, man.
What do you think,
What
man?
you think?
I think, I mean, I feel like people have a new perspective on judgment and curiosity. So
absolutely.
I think that's the goal today, is to discuss that. And I think we definitely did that, man. Okay.
Absolutely. And go check out Ted Lasso, man. Like it's more lessons in there, but that's one of the main ones I extracted from there. And I thought it was pertinent for this time.
Well, the clip you sent me definitely had me interested in watching the show. So yeah, man, I appreciate you sending that. I appreciate you coming up with the topic this week. I love talking about, that's what we do here at Leadership State of Mind. We try to get you to think about things that aren't in the normal topic of conversation. We don't just want to bore you with the same old stuff. We want to give you
Yep.
scenarios and tell you how to get better, because that's what we're here to do. We are here to grow, become better versions of ourselves every day. So, hey, listen, me and Armand have been seeing it. A lot more views, a lot more people joining the team. So please like, share,
Come on
follow.
board. Come on board.
Come on board. We are dropping gems. We are here to make all of ourselves better. And man, I appreciate you coming with us. So please continue to like, share, follow. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and man, join the Leadership State of Mind family. I hope we continue to bring you value. And thanks for listening, man.
Peace.